Welcome to the Sportsbiz Show. Today we have with us Ole Martin Vebenstad, the founder and CEO of SportIn Global. SportIn Global is a sports tech startup on a mission to change the world of recruitment in the sports industry. They are dedicated to providing the best social media platform for both professionals and students to meet. Today, we chatted with Ole on his insights on the recruitment market and the jobs market in the sports industry and how they continue to bridge the gap between the same. Let's dive into it. All right. Ole Martin, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you, Ananya. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Really good. Pleasure to have you on the podcast, and I'm really looking forward to how the discussion proceeds. But first off, would love to kind of begin with how you started in sports and how you sort of entered the field.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation and for letting me be part of the podcast. I really appreciate it. So when it comes to my sports journey, I guess it's I always had a passion for sports, as many other people, I guess, that are working in the industry. And for me, honestly, I knew very early I wanted to work in the sport industry. I was sort of like this: if I couldn't go in sports, I don't know what I would do or what I'd be part of. It's just like something that always been like, I wanted to follow my passion, and sports has always been that one thing for me. And for me, then it was very natural to start my education within the field of sport management. So I did that here in Norway at Molde University College, which is the college at my city in Norway. Small, beautiful city. We have sun today as well, so that's great. And yeah, from that point, in addition to taking my education, I started as a football coach. Of course, I've been playing football like most of my life too, and started as a football coach and sort of like got experience from there. And while I was sort of like studying, I had the opportunity to do like an internship and almost work like a year for the Norwegian Football Association, where I had the opportunity to work for the under-19 European Championship in Norway at that time as well. And from that point, I really went to the US to pursue my master within the same field at University of San Francisco. And at that point, I was really, sort of like mapping out, focusing on the business side of the industry, because obviously that's something where the Americans are really good at. And while I was there, I had the pleasure of working for a couple of sports startups, selling fair trade soccer balls, among other things, and working with beach soccer tournaments. And then, of course, I had the pleasure of working some major tournaments such as Copa America and Super Bowl 50. So the Super Bowl was sort of like a lucky timing, but you got to be a little bit lucky as well when you're on your road. But from that point, I came up with the idea of SportIn Global, and here we are a few years later. In the company which I never thought I would begin in the first place. But you never know what's going to happen on your journey. But I think that's pretty much sums it up.
Well, I mean, that's some great experience, especially, I guess, working across multiple entities gives you a better picture of the sports landscape. But then how did you sort of capitalize on the idea? I mean, the idea came to you, and there's a lot of ideas that come to a lot of people. How did you build that into what it is today, which is called SportIn Global, and connecting professionals and people who want to work in sports?
Sure. Yeah. I think it's very important for people in general to always have an open mind, and I was, I didn't mention that in the beginning, but I was sort of like very set of like what my goal was. I knew very early, like from when I was 16, I always said like, okay, I wanted to be like, a managing director for a professional football club. That was always my goal. So even when I was in the US, I was sort of like working towards that, although I knew like I had to sort of like, get different kind of experience. But I always had like this thing where I said, okay, if something unique happens, you should always be open for these sort of opportunities. And when I was during the program, we essentially, the idea itself came as part of one of the classes that we had, where we could essentially come up with a business plan, a small business plan sample, and we could either come up with a new idea, or we could, write like a short business plan for like one of the organizations in California, or like whatever you want to do. So I started essentially thinking about what challenges we as students were facing and how hard it was to find relevant opportunities at a global scale in sports. And I really saw that, the current solutions that were in the market, they weren't really sufficient, weren't really modern. It took a long time and it didn't really work. So I was like, there has to be a better way to do this. So I essentially came up with the idea of creating a job search app in order to help students within the field of sports find relevant opportunities at a global scale. And the group project that we did, it actually ended up having a lot of great results. So we kind of realized that, or I realized that it was something, into this that I really wanted to like dig deeper into. Like, okay, is this something worth pursuing? In a sense, like, okay, you did like some basic research, but is it really worth, putting your time and effort into this? So lucky enough, I were able to, dig deeper into this as part of my master thesis, and really, spent the time there to talk with the different kind of entities, universities, HR managers in sports, students, and trying to understand, okay, what was the challenges and the needs, and more importantly, also comparing markets, right? So I essentially went back home to Norway and I said, okay, are the challenges the same here as it is in the US? And how do you kind of like, come up with a solution that will solve those problems that we would cover? And essentially what we realized was that we needed something more than a job search app, because we needed a place where people could build connections, which is a huge part of the industry, what we are doing today. A place where people can gain knowledge about what opportunities they have and what it actually takes to succeed. And of course, where they can find those relevant opportunities in one place, whether that's volunteering, internships, part-time or full-time jobs. So that's essentially how SportIn Global ended up to be what it is today. And today, SportIn Global is a social recruitment platform for the sport business industry. We're utilizing AI to match our users with sports organizations. So that's essentially the journey of how SportIn Global came to life, and the work, a little bit of the work we put in the last few years.
That sounds amazing. I'm sure you're being modest, and that was a lot more work than that. But for the uninitiated, for the unaware, how does the platform work? For example, if I'm a recruiter or a professional, or on the other side, just someone looking to enter, how does sort of the onboarding on the app work? What do I need to know? Do I need to have a specific qualification to be
Right.
on the platform?
Yeah, I mean, like, so what was very important for us, of course, when building the platform was how do we make this for the upcoming generation, sort of like the new generation, the people that are going into the industry today, not only today, of course, and like my generation, but the one like in 5 years from now, the ones that are like coming up. I'm starting to get old as well, like in modest forms, but what was important for us was sort of like having that easy accessibility, right? So it was very important for us to, of course, okay, we have it on web as well, and then make it straight on apps, right? So we have an Android and we have an iOS version, which is very important for us. But as you know, as a startup, it's expensive things, but we got to do what we got to do. It's part of the journey, and essentially, it's free for our users, students, professionals, to sign up to have a user profile, like as you would have on any other social media platform, like Facebook, Twitter, what it might be. And for those people, like when they sign up, like of course you can sign up either through the app or on the web, and we ask you a few questions like when you sign up, and that's essentially just so we can help you get better recommendations when you're looking for jobs. So we ask you a little bit, okay, first of all, are you looking for a job right now? And if you do, then we ask you like what kind of sectors you're interested, where exactly you're looking for these sort of jobs, and what type of job you're looking for. So say, for instance, like I could say, well, I want to work in Norway. I'm looking for an internship, and I want to work in sports marketing. So based on those results, we can start giving those users recommendations that would suit them. And that's sort of like the whole thought process around the platform to help them in their journey to have a little bit easier way into succeeding in the sport industry. So from a recruiter standpoint, there's a few ways of doing it, but in general, like they onboard their company and they either, buy a single job posting, or they create like a partnership with us where we become a recruitment partner of them. And we essentially create like a package deal where they, have the opportunity to recruit talent through our platform. And of course, get like some marketing benefits as well. So we can help them, attract these talents. And that's been a very successful factor for us, whether you're big or small. And especially now, helping young companies, startups, the emerging companies in the sports that are really, kicking off, to helping them find, good qualified people. And I wanted to say this as well for those that are like, maybe I'm not qualified yet, maybe I'm not sure where I will fit in. What was very important for us in the platform was like, how can we help you that are sort of like starting your journey, right? So we have those three pillars which we always work around, and that's network, experience, and knowledge. And within those, it's like, how do we help those students, young professionals, to find their career path? And if you don't sort of like feel like, okay, maybe I don't have the right set of knowledge or experience yet, then you can also find relevant courses or programs within the field of sports in order to enhance, okay, maybe I have to do like a bachelor in sport management, or maybe I can do this course in sports analytics. So you can sort of like utilize the platform to enhance your skills. And in addition to that, of course, we have our blog, our podcast, that we're sharing experience from people in the industry. I know you're going to be part of ours, and kind of like sharing that experience, so they can kind of like help, so they can kind of like find their journey, because there's so many paths, and we believe in sort of like this way where there's no, like, we're not the one who's going to say, okay, this is what you have to do, but we want to facilitate where you can learn from the people that are in the industry, and find your path, and do what you like and what you don't like, and kind of like utilize that into helping you, guide you into whatever goal you have in the sport industry. So we're sort of like a facilitator, like a all-in-one place for people that are looking for a job in sports, are wanting to enhance their skills, or maybe doing a career change, or trying to elevate their career. So that's the goal, and that's what we're fighting towards every day.
Right, right. Um, Also, what kind of jobs are you actually seeing on this, in terms of, does this give you an idea of the kind of skills that are more in demand, in terms of the kind of people signing up, and what they're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, like it's kind of like, I think people have to think a little bit about like the current situation, right, with the pandemic and like everything going on, and what is very good, like, just sort of from a positive standpoint right away, is that the pandemic, of course, like, it challenges, and like, you can't travel, and there's a lot of conflicts with that. A lot of sports had stopped, but at the same time, more than ever, you have the opportunity to do remote work. And that's an opportunity thing that can open up an entire world of opportunities for you, literally an entire world. Like, you can literally work for wherever company you want in the world. And this is something that we've been focusing a lot too, is how do we help, first of all, those students, those professionals that are looking for a career, to find remote opportunities where they can be based, wherever it is, and they can work for a company maybe in Spain, or in Norway, or in the US, without being actually there. And that open mind, and that opportunity now, it's very unique, and something that you have to look after. And when it comes to essentially like opportunities that are being focused on very right now, is sort of like the of course, market research will always be very important. There's a lot of companies that we've been seeing that wants to maybe expand into a new country, a new market. So having someone local, that can work for them in that market, maybe getting some data on potential clients. The other thing as well, which is very high right now, is sort of like sales based, commission based positions. And at the end of the day, like, I know a lot of people are skeptical to sales, but it is very important. And if you can bring in money for the organization, you are immediately valuable. And the third thing is more on the digital side, because obviously there's a lot of potential there. It is, especially now with the pandemic, like, needed for those digital skills. So you see a lot of those opportunities, and also like for sort of like those that are, okay, where should I sort of like emphasize my skills in the next 6 months? And I would definitely like focus on sales and digital skills, because even if you look at like esports, right, there's so many streamers, like Twitch streamers, all this stuff, that actually need like maybe like a YouTube editor or like something like that. And there's a lot of those that are also working or are, being represented by professional esport organizations. So esport is a huge market that has been booming, a lot, and will continue to like excel through this pandemic. And hence, as a student now, you got to look at the markets that are excelling, and the ones that are moving forward, and look at organizations that, maybe not the biggest ones right now that are sort of like had to step down, maybe lay off a lot of people because of the situation, but the ones that are, capitalizing on the pandemic, that are actually, are able to make progress. And that, I think, is a huge factor. And just having that open mind will be a key factor for those people.
That's really good advice and some really good skills in there. Hopefully, people can incorporate. What kind of
Hopefully.
countries, though, like, do you see are really, or sort of are getting more traction or gaining more traction on the platform? I know you said you have a few clients in India as well. Are
Yep.
there specific countries that you are targeting, or just countries that are naturally drawn more to the platform?
Right. I mean, like, of course, right now we have, countries and or clients and partners in 11 countries. You got to keep in mind we're still in beta, so we've been working hard, but it's sort of like this thing where the pandemic also have dictated a little bit on like where those opportunities have come from, right? Because you also got to look at like where essentially like what countries are, you know slowly going back faster to the new normal, right? Who's sort of like past that stage point where they can kind of like rebuild the industry, like where things are sort of like running back at its feet. And I mean, like it's always a little bit, dictating on that. But for us, like right now, it's been a lot of, companies, in Portugal, in Spain, UK is picking up as well. You have, of course, the Scandinavian countries. We have, like West Coast US, and Switzerland, Austria. Like I would say, like Middle Europe, sort of like that sort of like thing is picking up. But sort of like my point as well was that there's, I think you have to sort of like look at it where you have maybe like a US company, but they might be looking for like maybe market research in Spain or in France or what it might be. And if you're a French student or or a Spanish student that are based there, then you can look for those opportunities as well. So we sort of like just capitalize on where the markets are going back fastest, and then at the same time, like new opportunities come up every week for us. Like it might be just someone reaching out to us and say, hey, I found your platform, it looks really cool, we want to try it out. Or maybe we come across something and it just makes sense, right? So we just kind of like play on the whole, where do those opportunities come from, and then of course how do we help create new opportunities that were not in the industry before. And this is something that is very important for us. And you're starting from like summer last year, we were able to create now probably closer to 100 new job opportunities that were not in the industry before. And this is very important for us to help create new opportunities for those students, professionals, so they can actually get the experience and get their foot in the door. So that's a key factor for us.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Um, Lastly, I know we spoke about a lot of things, and of
Right.
course, we've like sort of touched upon what makes the platform different. But
Yep.
how do professionals and students that kind of get on this platform capitalize on the opportunities that are present there? How do they sort of make their profile stand out? And how can the platform, in a sense, give them that unique USP, if you will?
Yeah. No, it's a really good question. And for what I would highly recommend everyone, like, first of all, if you haven't signed up, make sure to do so already at either sportingglobal.com, or download our app on iOS or Android. But my biggest advice is like, make sure to fill out your profile in the best possible way. Like, fill out your values. Like, this is something that we added. We talk about like what makes it unique, right? So having the opportunity to insert your top 3 values, your goal, your favorite quote, like these things is like what makes you different. Because like there's a lot of people that has the same education as you, that maybe has like coaching experience or like some similar experience as you. So when it comes to them, to like the key factors will be like, who are you? Like, what do you stand for? And for us, it's also like, how do we help those students and young professionals find organization that where they can provide the best value, right? So hence your personality, your values, what you stand for is going to be important. So utilize the time to like fill out your profile in the best possible way, because when the recruiters are looking for candidates, when you apply for jobs, they will look at your profile and they will look at your cover letter. So you always have to send in a cover letter when you apply. And so that's sort of like the two things that they will look at. So having a good filled out profile is very key, and definitely focus on like how, like, what do I stand for, and think about these sort of things. What is unique to me, and the other things is of course, the organizations that you find in there, make sure to support, like, follow their pages, so you're always updated on what's going on. See like who's part of those organizations, connect with them on the platform. Of course, we're improving sort of like our social element right now, so it will be sort of like more easier to find relevant organizations and connect with the right, more like-minded people going forward. But right now, kind of like focus on, follow those organizations that are looking for jobs, and connect with the people that you find. Invite your connections, so you sort of like be part of this community, and utilize it as a way of like sharing insights, from what is going on in your sports career, and try to make the most out of, the opportunity. Because of course, like, we want you to succeed in the industry, and we want to do our best ability to help you do that through the platform. But at the end of the day, it comes down to you, what kind of effort you're putting down. And there's a lot of advice I can give on that, but it's always like the same thing. It's like, it's up to you, like, if you're willing to put down the work, that's where it comes down. And like using, 15-20 minutes of your time to like fill out that profile like properly, maybe update it, whenever you have an update, like do it once a week or maybe once a month, like whenever something interesting is happening. Just taking that little time can make a huge difference. And once you're in interview with people, and then you get that interview, then they will always look for like that you have done your research on them, so utilize. That's why I'm saying, like, follow their company pages, support their pages, see what they're up to, so you see what, like, how does my values compare to this organization? Does it align? Where does it fit in? And I think that's sort of like the best way to begin. And of course, look through the blogs and the podcasts, and try to find stories that there are definitely people that maybe are from the same country as you, that are maybe have a similar journey that you are looking to go into. Maybe like they're working for a company or for a sector or a role that you're interested in. Utilize that to learn from them. And this is why we do what we do. So you don't have to like go around asking everybody and feeling lost. You can just find everything there and help you, guide you. So and if there is anything that you guys are wondering on, just make sure to connect with me as well. I'm more than happy to answer anything you guys are wondering about, and we're here to help. That's why SportIn Global exists. We're going to help you guys succeed.
That's great to hear. I mean, I second so much of the information that was in there, because I know how important it is to just kind of keep updated, but there's also so much information out there. So I'm glad that there's platforms that are sort of collating that and making lives easier. And hopefully it helps a lot of professionals.
Hopefully. That's the plan.
That is. Lastly, what is next for you and SportIn Global in 2021 and beyond?
Yeah, that's the real question, right? The crystal ball. I mean, like, of course, I always put like a goal for SportIn Global when I started the company, and I mean, like, our goal is to become the leading recruitment platform for the sport business industry, and that's what we're fighting towards, every day. And for us, like, through this year 2021 is to create more opportunities that weren't out there before, and help you guys, have an easy way to explore your options, connect with like-minded people, and gain knowledge. It comes down to the three pillars: network, experience, and knowledge. And and yeah, I mean, like there's a lot of cool initiatives, and that's sort of like our focus. We want to reach our long-term vision. It's hairy. It's gonna take some time, but that's what we're fighting towards. So we want to be the global platform that you guys are using wherever you are in the world, wherever you're looking for a job in sports. Like this is the place you're gonna do it at. So that's what we're doing.
Wow, that's wonderful to hear. And we wish you the best in your endeavors for sure.
Thank you, Ananya.
That does bring me to the end of my questions, but in this quick chat, I was able to get a lot of information about SportIn Global and the kind of work that the team is up to. And hopefully, this information can be taken to other people as well, the listeners of this podcast and more, and people can kind of get the benefits of what you guys are building.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate for you taking the time and for letting me be part of the podcast. I really appreciate it. It was a great conversation with you. Thank you so much.